in my, you know.
What's good? You got Osiris here, Middle MAGA, back again. And I'm going to start off with a different topic than the main topic. I'm not going to talk about Clarence Thomas at first and Ginny Thomas. I'm here to negotiate with you, leftists. We'll get into that later. I'm all for it. Let's go after everybody, but there's a catch. Go after Trump. I'm all for it, but there's a catch. Otherwise, there's no go. I think it's time to say, let's negotiate. We're not coming from a position of strength, though. But in theory, this is what I would like to do. I would like to negotiate. But my main topic is I just had an epiphany today, and I said that I'm for discrimination, at least for the right for people to discriminate. And you could also say I'm pro-discrimination as well. Let me explain what I mean. This article came out. I just saw it today. New York City is expected to approve a bill this spring that would ban weight discrimination in housing and hiring. And on the heels of Arizona doing this executive order from Katie Hobbs, that's the one where Rachel Dolezal was there, where they said, here's an executive order. We're banning discrimination based on hair. We're banning discrimination based on hair. Now New York is banning discrimination based on weight. I say it's easier. Why not just say this? Just say you can discriminate against, because this is what they really mean. You can discriminate against anybody, or you can't discriminate against anybody except for MAGA. If you put on the red hat, you can be discriminated against. If you put on Black Lives Matter, yeah, that's fine. That's no problem. Even if you put it on at work. There was that fast food, I forget which fast food, there was a person that put on Black Lives Matter at work. They're like, we want to be apolitical, fired them, and then I believe they rehired them afterwards. You wouldn't get afforded that same luxury we haven't seen it yet, if somebody wore Black Lives MAGA. So this discrimination stuff is just another extension of power. Who decides who's discriminated against? Who gets to decide that? Whoever has power gets to decide who's discriminated against and who isn't. There's a perception that you're lazy or able to do the work. One activist said people don't even realize that they have that bias. They're trying to write legislation to legislate what they are calling an unconscious bias. You're not God. It's not possible for humans to legislate preference. It's impossible. So I'm coming out of the closet as pro the right to discriminate, and I would like the right to discriminate as well. We discriminate every day. If you go online to one of the dating apps, you either say yes or no, and you can discriminate for whatever reason you want to. Before people look at me and say I'm crazy, we've seen schools. The first one I saw was 2017. I'm sure it was before that. Harvard did an all black. There's many of them going on right now, but this is the first one I remember. 2017, Harvard did an all black graduation. Is that discrimination? As long as you use the term affinity spaces, I think they'll probably be okay with it. If I use the term affinity space to affirm my discrimination against people for whatever reason I want, is that okay? Or is it only okay when you do it surrounded by politically black women?
And then I'm a big believer in affinity space and affinity work. And I think people of color need to get away from white people and have some community with each other. And I'll let that go and maybe see if anyone else wants to pick it up.
Yeah, you could let that go. You could also say white people need to get away from black people. Or you could also say skinny people, if they want to, can get away from fat people. There's no end to this. So I fully support it. I'm coming out right now against the Civil Rights Act of 1964. It was a mistake. If you want to say my business is for whites only, please let me know so I won't even go inside. And in a free market, at the end of the day, if you say No fat people, no skinny people, no ugly people, no smelly people. The market will decide as long as the government gets the hell up out of the way. You can see how I've been trending towards the Libertarian Party. That's the only major political party that would even embrace this idea. I am not joking. I am being very serious. This discrimination or not is only being used as a tool by the people who have power, and it's being used by the left. The non-left position is we judge people by the content of their character. The left position is we judge people by their adherence to our ideology. And this is the article that triggered me into this point. Thanks for stopping by. You can be fired for being overweight. Should New York change that? No, you shouldn't. You should be able to fire somebody whatever hell reason you want to fire them for. Why not? City Council is expected to approve a bill this spring that would ban weight discrimination in hiring and housing. And what do they do when they ban this discrimination? I go to a job interview. Maybe somebody has had poor experiences in their past with whoever they claim is a black person. Do you think they're going to tell me that I didn't get the job because I have a color of my skin is brown? No, it's still in the head, and they say no. What if you see somebody comes through in a job interview, their hygiene isn't good, they smell like trash? Are they going to tell you you didn't get the job because you smell like ish? No, it's just in the head. The legislation is irrelevant. And they're going down this route where there's an infinite amount of identities. There is no end to this. This article came out, it was actually from today. Victoria Abraham has attracted a huge online following as a self-described fat activist. And this is going along the same lines of having to affirm somebody's pronouns. I'll call you whatever I want to. I can call you a fat ass. I don't have to call you a fat activist. Who preaches body positivity. I could call it health negativity. And calls out bias. And I don't know this person, so I'm not saying that. I'm just asserting my First Amendment rights. But after graduating from New York University last year with a degree in public policy indoctrination camp, she cannot avoid wondering if her job search will be hampered by her size. And you know what? That is life. You're going to have to go through life not knowing. And I think it's better. Don't you think it would be better and refreshing if we were just honest with each other and just said, hey, you didn't get that job. You know why? You missed a spot. When you shaved, I do that sometimes in the back if I don't use a mirror. I don't trust you. You said on your resume you had attention to detail, but you missed the spot. So obviously you don't. That's good enough. It could be for any reason. I just got a vibe that I didn't like you. I could be wrong. It should be for any reason. And it would be so refreshing, wouldn't it? Bishop, what's up? Long time no chat. Thanks for stopping by. Bishop says, I fully support segregation and racism. I'm your best friend, a suburban progressive. Nobody, you know what they hate? Is that I agree with them. I chat with many people online who are progressive or leftist, and we agree on an exact position, and they won't agree, probably because I have middle MAGA in my title. One of the biggest examples is Caitlin Johnstone. We agree on a lot. She refuses to agree. You don't have to acknowledge it or not. I just think it's funny. We agree on segregation. We agree on Jim Crow. Why are we fighting? If a company doesn't want to hire you because you're fat and they think maybe you might not have the discipline that we need, whether they're right or wrong, they should be able to do it. They should be able to say so. And I think we'd be solving so many problems right now. Everything would be so refreshing. But no, here we go. The government trying to be God. Lawmakers in New Jersey and Massachusetts considering similar measures banning the practice. The practice of what? Not hiring somebody because they're fat? What if I have a business and, I have a customer-facing business and I don't like that look if someone's too skinny. What if you're looking a little skinny, and maybe I have a weight loss product I'm selling, and you look too skinny. You're gonna turn people off from our weight loss product. We need people that look normal. I'm good. How does it work with sports? Do I have to hire a fat person to play on my team? Michigan and Washington State already prohibit it. Michigan already prohibits this, as do some cities like Madison, Wisconsin, and Washington, D.C. The momentum to add weight to the list of protected groups. Where does the list of protected groups stop? I'm telling you, I am not joking. The only place it stops is at MAGA. They will support a grown ass man dressed as a woman, putting a little kid in their lap, reading a story to them about being drag, as long as that drag queen doesn't have a MAGA hat on. That's the asymptote that we're heading to. Infinite amount of protected groups, and it would go up to and including pedos, like Marjorie Taylor Greene described as the Democrat Party as. It includes race, gender, religion, disability, comes as the body acceptance movement continues to gain popularity. Podcasts, I know it is because people are getting heavier. Podcasts like Maintenance Phase and social media creators have spread awareness that not all overweight people are unhealthy. I don't agree with that. There's different reasons for it. It might be harder for some people than others, but I haven't been sold. I'm not a doctor. I haven't been sold on that. I know people can have different conditions. I think that could make things harder for sure. But that doesn't, I'm not buying that. That you're, especially if you're like morbidly obese, like you're healthy, but there's some other reason. No, I'm not buying that. Don't give me any excuses. I'm not saying you can't be happy. I'm not saying not to love your own body. But this is coming. They want to pile any identity into these groups. Protected groups. What's next? And I have nothing against furries. I don't know much about the furry culture or subculture, but I actually chat with somebody online who I guess they identify as a furry. The coolest person. I don't even know if they're male or female. I guess most furries are male. Or I don't even know. I think it might be half and half, but I don't know if they're male or female. We just chat their base takes. No problem with that. You don't need to protect that, because if you show up in a job interview in a Bugs Bunny costume, I'm going to say no. I don't care what the law says. You might not know why when they add that to the protected group of people. Body mass index are flawed. Okay, what's your level? What's your measurement for a healthy weight? Many Americans gained weight during the height of the pandemic. The government locked down gyms. We're talking about in New York here. Lockdown gyms. You couldn't go outside unless you were protesting Black Lives Matter. Obesity rates rise even more than they've been. Then they come in and say, you can't fat shame. These are the people that we helped create. There's no excuse. You can't blame the government if you're overweight. You just didn't make the adjustments. But we're the people that tried to make it easier for them to be fat. Let's not shame them. As long as they weren't anti-V, as long as they weren't anti the jab, let's just do it like that. It feels refreshing to just be out there in the open and say it. Would you want to discriminate against Jeffrey Marsh if Jeffrey Marsh showed up at the job interview? Of course I would. They're not going to let that happen. At some point, they're going to say, if somebody shows up in the job interview and they fit this category, they must be hired. We're getting real close to that point. Tired of these clowns. If you have any history of wearing that red hat, that MAGA hat, I can tell you, and they search, you got a human resource group or whatever for a company they search through, it's probably going to be a problem. Let me know what you think about that. Let me give a shout out to Gothix. Gothix is a epic streamer. Well, and another one of those streamers that I found out about early on when I started streaming just got fed their feed. I think I found out about Gothix because I watched Eric July, and then after I watch Eric July videos, I will get Gothix videos as well. And here you go. Gothix released a 30-second trailer for her documentary that's going to be launched through Watch Lore. I'm ready for this. So I fully support this, signed up on the mailing list. Let's take a look at this 30-second trailer.
And I just see like these pools of blood coming out. I'm like, okay, I'm panicking now. There is no redemption. There is no conversation. It is whatever we say about you is truth, and you're done. For the first time in my life, I'm doing something that makes me happy. You took the one thing I loved away from me.
There you have it,
And I
Gothix.
just see like these pools of blood coming out. And I'm like, okay, I'm panicking now.
There you have it, Gothix, the documentary, 30-second trailer. Shout out to her. I like to try to promote people who are doing things independently. And what is Lore? She's launching this on Lore. Lore is a cross between Netflix and Kickstarter that empowers viewers. I got that verbiage from her video. And let me show you what it looks like when you go to Lore. I've never heard of this site before I saw this Gothix. So that's great to see Gothix promoting her documentary and then also promoting this. It's kind of like Kickstarter and Netflix. So you want to do a documentary, you raise the money. These things are expensive, especially if you're going to do it well with that. Just that video editing alone is time consuming and expensive to pay somebody to do. If you're going to outsource it and to get it that professional, I'm guessing she's outsourcing that unless she's a beast and has a lot of time as well. That video editing is not easy. So this I'm showing right now, Lore TV. Never seen this before. Very interested in this. Lore TV. Let's take a look at this. So Gothix was able to launch this documentary. Love the use of shadow here. Mysterious, and that fits her vibe too. Gothix, Misery Demands Sacrifices, a film, and it's gonna launch. I don't think we have a date yet. Let me see if she replied in that thread. I don't think we have a date yet. Let me take a look real quick. I didn't see a date, but if you want more information, go to lore.tv/p/Gothix. Vanessa Ross was a uniquely entertaining and innovative streamer on the platform of Twitch, and she was known to her audience as Gothix. A beloved member of the streaming world, she was suddenly exiled from her community of creative partners and colleagues when she stated an opinion that she did not know was unacceptable in their eyes. Gothix tells the story of her rise to notoriety, her fall into hopelessness, and the truths she discovered at the bottom. And you put the email in, and you got little updates in here. And here's the creator, Graham Wilson, filmmaker. She's doing it big. It looks like she's doing it proper. So there's some other, it looks like pictures here. There's Gothix right there. Any Gothix fans? I'm sure that I would hope so. In the, if you happen to come across this. Good afternoon, JC Razel. Any Gothix fans? Also check out Lore TV. Very interesting. I've got that in my bookmarks. I will be checking that out. Great idea to combine Kickstarter with people who are focused on making movies, documentaries, because you need a lot of money to produce this kind of stuff, the script and all that kind of. It's a lot of work there. I'm looking forward to that. Anything that Gothix is a part of, anything that Gothix touches, turns to gold. Thanks for stopping by. We had the story, the headline story. I'm gonna get into this now with Clarence Thomas. Let's go into the news, see what's going on here. Very interesting. This has already the topic has already been brought up, but not these specific allegations here, which they sound like they're confirmed, but I'll still call them allegations. Clarence Thomas, Supreme Court Justice, over 20 years, has been treated to luxury vacations by billionaire Republican donor Harlan Crow. It must be nice. Is anybody really surprised by that? I'm not, but I will say I don't like that. Never liked it. But let's take a look and see, what are we really kind of getting into? What are we really talking about here? They detailed it. ProPublica did some detailed looking into this story here. So taking a look further, they were able to take trips, all kinds of trips. They were living their best life. Let me show some pictures here. He goes on cruises in far-flung locales on Crow's yacht. It's not as nice as Bezos, but we all can't be Bezos, can we? The yacht is on the left here, and in the middle, you're seeing flies on his private jet. You know, I keeps a private jet and keeps company with Crow's powerful friends at the billionaire's private resort. The extent of Crow's, let me go ahead here. I can't even see this. Why can't I get a better? Let me see if I can get it. They have this cute little intro to the art, which actually is pretty cool, but I can't see it. So let me highlight it. No, I can't. So the extent of Crow's largesse has never been revealed until now. Oh, okay. As I scroll down, it gets darker. Got it. Clarence Thomas and the billionaire. In late June 2019, right after the U.S. Supreme Court released its final opinion of the term, Justice Clarence Thomas boarded a large private jet headed to Indonesia. There's a picture, Clarence Thomas and his wife, Ginny. You know, they hate Ginny. It's kind of funny because I know they hate Ginny. Did you say love her for Ginny, JC Razel? I was just about, you beat me to it. How did you beat me to it? You beat me to it. Cause I'm like, not to be disrespectful or anything. I just didn't know. I didn't think there was any reason for him not to like her, but I'm like, okay, what's the relationship there with Judge Thomas and Ginny? Virginia Thomas, she is ride or die. She's about that life. Very principled. You can see why Judge Clarence Thomas would be attracted to her personality. She is a bulldog, and that's why the left doesn't like her. They hate fighters. She is a fighter. I wish she had a more prominent role, actually. She's one of the few who's down to get into the dirt, the mud, to do what needs to do. If you don't know, that's Ginny Thomas right there in the middle. And that's Thomas, his wife, and others on their trip to Indonesia. So he went there. He and his wife, they went on a 9-day island hopping in the volcano archipelago on a super yacht staffed by a coterie of attendants and a private chef. Great. If Thomas had chartered the plane himself, the total cost of the trip would have exceeded $500,000. Now he's on the plane with other people, so you would split that. But I get the bottom line of that is still well taken. These are gifts. This is a perk. So you're going to listen later on that this mega donor, Harlan Crow, who owned the jet and the yacht, is a Republican. I don't know what that means. I've never heard of this dude in my life. But there's Harlan Crow's like, that's my boy. That's what he said. So how do you police that? Well, how do the laws of the Supreme, is that the right way to say it? The laws of the Supreme Court? I don't even know what the right way to say that is. And that's pretty important. But for more than 2 decades, Thomas has accepted luxury trips virtually everywhere from the Dallas businessmen without disclosing them. I have a problem with that. If they have rules on the Supreme Court, they should. It sounds like they do. I'm not an expert in them, but let's forget about the rules and the laws. Obviously, if you're going to go on trips and different things like that, the concern is you would have a conflict of interest if any case comes up in front of you that would be adjacent to Harlan Crow or in the same ideology or against Harlan Crow. If you know Harlan Crow is pro this and the case would go against him, how do we know that you wouldn't rule in a different way because those private jet trips might stop? This is a legitimate concern. It is not good. I don't like it, but I'll continue on and then tell you what my takeaway is. Clarence Thomas is a public servant who has a salary of $285,000. He has vacation on Crow's super yacht around the globe. He flies on this Global 5000 jet. He's gone to, wait for it, Bohemian Grove, the exclusive California all sausage retreat into Crow's sprawling ranch in East Texas. The extent and frequency of Crow's apparent gifts to Thomas. So you can spin it as a gift, or you could spin it as just hanging out with your boy. What's the difference? But I think it comes down to, was it disclosed or not? Here we go. These trips appeared nowhere on Thomas's financial disclosures. This is according to ProPublica. Thomas did not respond, but there's, why aren't they disclosed is a fair question, if that is true. And he didn't respond. So I have to go by what they're saying and go from there. His failure to report the flights appears to violate a law passed after Watergate that requires justices, judges, members of Congress, and federal officials to disclose most gifts, two ethics law experts said. He also should have disclosed his trips on the yacht, these experts said. So I don't know exactly what the method of going after this is, but you can tell they're going after people they don't agree with. They obviously going after Trump hard. These leftists are so strategic and so smart. Who's the next most important person to go after Trump? It's the Supreme Court. If it wasn't for the Supreme Court, you'd be walking around with a needle in your shoulder, all kinds of, First Amendment, the Second Amendment probably would be gone. It'd probably be in practice, not amended, but in the interpretation of probably completely irrelevant. If you interpret the Second Amendment in that the government can regulate arms, then that means there is no extent to which they can't. So I don't know. So if you say, yeah, you can make people register it, then you can put whatever qualifications on that. I personally don't see the legal argument to where's the stop. So they are going at the foundation of these institutions. Donald Trump, head of the populist right, and then the Supreme Court that has shot down some things that they really wanted to get through. Thomas saved 2A. GB, friend of show, they weren't happy about that. Which case was that? I already forgot. I think I talked about it once. But yes, that's when around the time they started doing the memes of him really being disrespectful, and they're going after him hard. We'll see if it goes anywhere. That doesn't mean they're going to be successful, but it's not going to be for a lack of trying. In a statement, Crow acknowledged that he'd extended hospitality to the Thomases over the years. You could call it hospitality, but said that Thomas never asked for any of it and was no different than the hospitality we have extended to our many other dear friends. I would have to look at what are the laws governing the Supreme Court. I remember looking that up when they first attacked Thomas. Anybody familiar with that stuff? That's very important. And who would be more familiar with it than Clarence Thomas and how to maybe hedge his bets around it? And then they go through it more. Let me see if I find some. When a justice's lifestyle is being subsidized by the rich and famous, it absolutely corrodes public trust. I think that's a fair comment to say. They uncovered the details of Thomas's travel by drawing from flight records, internal documents distributed to Crow's employees, and interviews with dozens of people, ranging from his super yacht staff to members of the secretive Bohemian Club to an Indonesian scuba diving instructor. So they are under different set of rules here. Here's my takeaway from this. My takeaway is, I'm fine. Your terms, if you don't like this, your terms are acceptable. But number one, it's got to be applied consistently. Number two, I'm not for going after Clarence. I don't care if he broke the law or not. We're beyond laws in the Constitution. If you want to go after Clarence Thomas, I'm all for it. What are you willing to trade for that? Because I know that's something that you care about because he's against you on the left care about because he's against you socially and politically. What are you willing to trade for my pretend that we could work towards making it happen where Clarence Thomas is impeached or something like that? God forbid. What are you willing to trade for that? I would be willing to trade the Bill of Rights as Donald Trump spelled out in the video I have played, basically kind of revamping Section 230, giving you rights of free speech on all the major platforms. If we pass a Bill of Rights, a digital Bill of Rights, I would support impeaching Clarence Thomas in a heartbeat. What are you willing to trade? I know this is in theory. We can't make it happen like that, but that's where I'm at. I don't want Donald Trump hemmed up or in prison or anything like that over some nonsense, but I'm willing to trade. What are you? He's the head honcho. He's the face of the populist right. You would have to trade some serious stuff for that. I would say I'm willing to trade for Trump to get hemmed up. Say he was hemmed up. Of course, he would be found guilty in New York. Say he's hemmed up, found guilty in New York. I would trade the Bill of Rights that he talked about. That has to be passed with, at the same time, just hypothetically, pass the digital Bill of Rights and a simple constitutional interpretation of 2A. If you get the votes to amend it, you could amend it. But 2A is as it's written, period. No other qualifications on it. I'd be willing to trade Grandpappy Don for that. You know what? They would never do that. As crazy as people in the chat probably would never do that. I would, but they wouldn't because they're not for consistency. Ryan Grimm tweeted. He tweeted the other day, I think that was yesterday, and this is a good example. This is how they think. I'm going to pull up the Ryan Grimm. He's I guess you could call him a leftist. He's a journalist. And here's what he had to say. Okay, Ryan Grimm says, the prosecution of Trump is a good first step. Now do Bush. No. I'm not okay with that. Here's what I want to see. If you at the same time do the prosecution of Trump, and I don't know how you'd have to go through the Supreme Court to kind of get, but maybe legislation, I don't know what it is, and you get the digital Bill of Rights and a constitutional interpretation of the Second Amendment, then I'm good at the same time. And prosecuting Trump and prosecuting Bush obviously is not an even trade. So prosecuting Bush doesn't mean much to me right now, so that's almost irrelevant. Prosecuting Biden right now is irrelevant to me. You see what he did there? The prosecution of Trump is a good first step. Now do Bush. No, that's not an even trade. Notice how he skipped over Clinton, Obama, and went straight to Bush. I mean, they're all in the same category to me, but he didn't say now do Obama. That's how these people are. They're inconsistent. And I think we could reach some common ground. I don't care about Clarence Thomas as a person. I don't know him. Donald Trump as a person. I don't know him. But you're going to have to trade something, though. You're not just going to run over your political enemies without giving anything up. But that's what they're looking for sure. Look who's entered the arena, everybody. Big news. We were hoping that it would happen, and it's happened. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has announced a 2024 presidential bid. Godspeed. I don't need to agree with you on everything. Obviously, I don't agree with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on everything, but he's somebody that you can work with, in my opinion. I don't have a problem with him believing weather change, but I can work with him on other things. Let's take a look.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announces 2024 presidential bid. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., best known for his positions on environmental law and vaccine safety, filed the paperwork to run in the 2024 race for President of the United States on April 5. He filed as a Democrat, according to a Federal Election Commission filing. America is enduring an apocalyptic tribal polarization more toxic and dangerous than any time since the Civil War, Kennedy told the Epoch Times exclusively following the filing of the paperwork. And while Democrats battle Republicans, elites are strip mining our middle class, poisoning our children, and commoditizing our landscapes. I will focus my campaign not on the issues that divide us, but the values we have in common. Kennedy is the second candidate to declare a run for the Democratic nomination, joining Marianne Williamson. Kennedy's father, the late Senator Robert Kennedy, was assassinated when running for the presidency in 1968. His uncle, President John F. Kennedy, was assassinated in Texas in 1963. Kennedy signaled earlier in March that he planned to run. "If it looks like I can raise the money and mobilize enough people to win, I'll jump in the race," Kennedy wrote in a Twitter post dated March 10.
And you know who pushed him into it a little bit? One Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon wanted to see some chaos on the Democratic side. And of course, he has no chance to win. The DNC is a monster that has been pretty much legally affirmed, which is no surprise, treating them like a private organization, which I think is actually accurate. But they are also monopoly, so I don't know about from that side. There's only two major parties. But the DNC has been affirmed publicly that they can basically do whatever they want with super delegates. They can change the rules at any time. They can lie and tweak it to make sure no one has a chance. So all he is going to be is a change agent of chaos, but I fully welcome it. I do want to note through Michael P. Singer, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. initially vocally supported lockdowns. And that doesn't mean I'm against him, but he did. Lockdown hasn't just slowed the pandemic, it's reduced lethal air pollution and associated mortality. When lockdown lifts, risks of status quo will return and could worsen as government weaken environmental regulations and pour billions into polluting industries. So it doesn't sound like somebody I would agree with politically, but he did change his position. I just want to make sure it's noted on the record that he didn't have that position from the beginning, but his book is unbelievable. Oh, man. If you have not read that book, man, that book has so much, so well sourced. It is, I talked about it in the height of the pandemic. I haven't read it in a minute, but if you have a chance to go back and read, what was it called? The Real Fauci. If you have a chance to go back and read The Real Fauci, oh, excellent, excellent book. Speaking of Fauci, Fauci said basically, I don't know, it was kind of a flippant comment, so I don't want to make too much out of it, but he did say it. And then the bigger takeaway from this is that he's still in the news. Why he retired, but it doesn't feel like he retired. He retired, but why am I hearing his voice as much as I am? But here's Fauci.
So if we really want to prevent the next pandemic, and there will be one, there will absolutely be an outbreak of another pandemic. It may be next year, or it may be in your grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren's lifetime. We don't know. So
he's saying he left it open. It may be next year, but it may be generations down the road. But prepare, he did say it may be next year. Who knows what he knows? Steve Johnson says, hopefully the deep state is doomed, get hit from the left and the right. They can't unlive everybody. I think that's also what Steve Bannon is thinking. You flank them from the left, flank them from the right. And Steve Bannon is like, if Marianne Williamson was that person to flank Joe Biden from the left, I think Steve Bannon would be all for it. But he knows she's not. Marianne Williamson is in a weird place because she believes a lot of the woke ideology. She's perfectly fine with the sunflower country stuff. She was very bad on the pandemic, bad on race. So how do you flank the left, someone from the left, when you're bad on all those topics? I don't know. You say Joe Biden isn't enough of Joe Biden is basically what she's running on. I used to like her, but she's obviously not a principled person. Let me know what you think. This was hilarious. This is my new favorite organization. It just started, OMG. And what you're going to see here is undercover. Guess who went undercover in New York during the day of the arraignment for Donald Trump? One James O'Keefe.
With the New York Times.
You're a photographer?
Yeah,
for the Times?
Yeah.
You can finally take this guy down with this?
It's not gonna be enough.
Well, but it seems like he gets away with everything.
He certainly does, man.
You know, it's crazy.
He certainly does.
It's crazy. He gets away with everything. Whatever it takes, right?
Whatever it takes, of course. Yeah.
Whatever it takes. I mean,
It's a good start, but
you guys are doing your part too.
They said no mugshot and most likely no handcuff.
Oh.
I mean, fingerprints, yes, but no mugshot.
Are you guys with like local TV or something?
Are you a Trump supporter? Okay, so then I can say I'm with CNN.
We appreciate the good work you guys do.
So what you're, for people on the podcast, what you're seeing right here or hearing is James O'Keefe. He didn't change anything but put his sunglasses on and a hat. I don't know how people couldn't tell that was James O'Keefe. I would have definitely saw who that. Well, I would have been at least like, is that James O'Keefe? Or is that you? Are you the trans one that said her for she? Hershey? If you don't remember, the trans person that was recognized by Hershey looked like a trans James O'Keefe. But I would have been able to pick him out, but none of these people did, and he's catching them on camera with their biases.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
Thank you
you guys for coming.
I've never seen so many journalists in my life.
I know. We know, James. Hi.
I like that dude. This dude is the only one that at least James, I'm sure there were more. He's the only one that I saw in this 3-minute video that could tell it was James. And he was just like, James, what are you doing?
We appreciate the good work you guys do.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
Thank
you
you
guys for coming.
I've never seen so many journalists in my life.
I know. We know, James.
He said, we know, James. Is that a disguise, James? This guy was the only one that kind of acted like that.
Hi.
OMG went down to the New York City courthouse today for the Trump arraignment to find out what was really going on. And what we first saw were hundreds of journalists and news people everywhere. We spoke to them to find out what they really thought. As you watch us do this, note that you can easily do this at any event where journalists gather, simply by recording audio on your phone and having a friend help from afar.
I've never seen so many journalists in my life.
It's a very big story. Former president being charged today, criminally charged.
Are they gonna get him finally?
I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see.
They're just gonna help him like all the other things help him.
Do the one in Georgia.
Oh, Georgia. Well, that Georgia seems like it would be better at taking him down than that.
Yeah, it's more interesting than
I know.
Stormy Daniels, but I'll take this.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
What do you mean we'll take it? Like it's whatever reason he is in treason is good for me. You guys reporters?
I'm not. No, we're cameramen.
Oh, okay, cool. Who do you work for?
ABC.
ABC? Cool.
It depends how much he keeps slipping up, you know?
Whatever it takes, right?
Hopefully he doesn't. Hopefully he doesn't get the nominee and just goes away.
That would be great. I would love to see that on ABC
Or he
News.
gets nominee and loses again. Either one.
He seems like he gets away with everything, you know?
Yeah, he'll buy his way out. Yeah.
He'll buy his way out.
OMG also spoke to a district attorney in the same courthouse as Alvin Bragg to find out what her thoughts were on the decision for Bragg to indict Trump.
Sylvia Wertheimer?
Wertheimer.
Wertheimer.
I'm in the appeals division.
Oh. So you're a big time DA. You're
I'm
amazing.
not a big time. I'm a little low level DA.
if I-
But I was surprised to hear that there's nothing in the Constitution that prevents anybody who's even been convicted of a felony from running for president.
Well, maybe we should change that.
We should change a lot of things.
Can we change that?
No. Well, we can't do anything in this country. We can't get rid of guns. They have AR-15 guns.
Yeah, we gotta do that.
I mean,
This is a district attorney. Very powerful. She said, I'm a low level. They're all very powerful.
we see the country seems to be dysfunctional. And I don't understand that people still think he won the election.
Oh.
I mean, really,
It's ridiculous, right?
it's ridiculous.
So ridiculous. Isn't that? You still think that? If you think that anything happened funny in 2020, you're so ridiculous.
Do you think that Alvin Bragg obviously is just dealing with this and trying to make sure that?
No, I know he thinks that the charges are justified.
Yeah, you don't know the charges yet.
No, everybody's speculating.
I've never seen so many journalists in my life.
I know.
We know James. Hi.
I love that part. I love how he said it too. The delivery, he's like, "We know, James. Hi." James, like, these clowns don't know who you are. You didn't try very hard this time. You didn't put on the pimp outfit. Yeah, we know, James. James, take off the glasses, take off the hat. You look like a buffoon. Take it off. You look like a fool. Alvin Bragg, he looked really stupid the other day. I'm following up on this. I looked into this more. You probably maybe have heard all this, but looking into the indictment. I looked through it myself. I saw Robert Govea. Then I'm looking at other lawyers I respect on it. Bragg is assuming guilt of a crime not specified in the indictment. This is an experimental situation against the former president, number one candidate. They didn't specify part of the crime. So they have 30-something counts. They're all the same. Every single count is from the same crime, which is a misdemeanor. They can't even prove the misdemeanor, and they're past the statute of limitations on the misdemeanor. So none of that is a crime unless it's tied to another crime. And that's what this lawyer, Jed Sugarman's saying. The felony code of the NYPL, this number here, requires the cover-up of an underlying crime. The indictment doesn't specify an underlying crime. The statement of facts doesn't specify an underlying crime. That's astonishing. When we're talking about dealing with a former president, that's the precedent you want to set? Again, they don't see any eye for eye or it will go equally both ways. They know it won't. I said, I'm not a lawyer, but what I see here is that Donald Trump is being charged with covering up a federal crime. The other crime alleged, we don't even know what it wasn't even alleged. The other crime we think is a federal crime. The problem is he's never been charged with this unlisted, mysterious federal crime. And New York, if he did do New York doesn't have jurisdiction over it in the first place. So I'm not saying they're breaking any New York laws. I'm just as confused as how this is legal. It sounds like it's legal. I don't know. You're gonna have to ask Robert Barnes, but I'm just laying out what's happening. I'm not saying Alvin Bragg broke the law or anything. I'm just laying out what's happening, and you tell me where you're at. Nobody replied to me, of course. Even didn't expect it, but just in case, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. It appears that Bragg is assuming guilt for a federal crime that Trump hasn't even been charged with, much less found guilty of. So how is that going to play? New York doesn't have jurisdiction over it. So how would they even, I guess they're going to be trying him on a charge unrelated to the one that they put in the indictment. Unbelievable. So I said this infamous tweet from Nancy Pelosi, it lands a lot differently after seeing the indictment. If I'm correct with my analysis on the indictment, Nancy Pelosi's tweet here is 100% accurate and correct. And this is the tweet where she said, the grand jury has acted, this was before Trump went down to New York and went to his court date. The grand jury has acted upon the facts and the law. No one is above the law, and everyone has the right to a trial to prove innocence. Because to bring this indictment, Alvin Bragg has to assume the crime that Donald Trump has never been charged with, that he committed it. So Alvin Bragg actually does have to assume guilt. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to bring the charges. I don't know if Nancy knew or not. It could be just a complete coincidence, but it's awkward because obviously you're innocent until proven guilty. Nancy said Trump has a right to a trial to prove his innocence, and she could have been, whether it's an accident or not, she could have been talking about this random federal charge that he hasn't been even been charged with. That's amazing. Looking back at this comment now, the right to prove innocence. He has to be assumed guilty of that crime for any of this to go on. Hopefully the former president will peacefully respect the system, which grants him that right. Of course, it's always the non-left that has to peacefully respect something. The same people that, of course, supported cities being burned down. Same people, same problems. I'm not going to reiterate too many times. This is why I said that Trump shouldn't have turned himself in. I have not changed that take. My take still stands. We covered this live, but now that I've kind of had time to read it and look at it, there's nothing in the indictment other than 34 counts. Here's what it sounded like again. The clip at the press conference, the first part is quiet. And what they're doing is they're going to say, well, where's the rest of it? like you got served like some chicken and there's no meat on the bone.
Mr. Bragg, the indictment says that there were 34 false business records.
So he said there was 34 falsified business records.
And they were done to conceal another crime, but the indictment does not.
So he said it was done to conceal another crime, but the indictment doesn't say what it is. These are reporters that are on his side.
What those crimes were, we are assuming perhaps that they might be election related. I'm wondering if you can specify what laws were also broken.
Right. So let me say as an initial matter that the indictment doesn't specify it because the law does not so require. In my remarks, I mentioned a couple of laws which I will highlight again now. The first is New York State election law, which makes it a crime to conspire to promote a candidacy by unlawful means. I further indicated a number of unlawful means, including more additional false statements, including statements that were planned to be made to tax authorities. I also noted the federal election law cap on contribution limits.
But why weren't there those crimes charged? Why wasn't he charged with those crimes?
Well, I'm not going to go into our deliberative process on.
The reporter said, well, why wasn't he charged with those crimes then? And then he has a weird smirk on his face, Alvin Bragg. Okay, well, you could charge him with those crimes, right?
What was brought, the charges that were brought were the ones that were brought. The evidence in the law is the basis for those decisions.
Wow. Here's what he said. Well, you heard what he said. This is what we heard, just common people translating in a jokey matter. Here's a meme. It is a meme.
Trump 2024. First of all, I would like to say that I'm a corrupt piece of shit owned by George Soros. Second, and this part is very important, I would like to ask all Democrats to kiss President Donald Trump's ass. And last but not least, I would like to say that President Donald J. Trump is my daddy. And he's the greatest fucking president this world has ever seen. I'm out, bitches. Trump 2024.
Y'all play too much.
Trump 2024.
Memesters are going wild with the new technology, everybody. That's Al Bragg. So yes, thank you. I did see I didn't watch the video, but I saw it pop up with Rekieta. I'm a big Nick Rekieta fan. I haven't been in his live in months though. It's probably been since, I don't even remember the last one. It's been months. But I'll jump into Salty every once in a while. I was in the homies. I think, was he live? I don't know if he was. Yeah, he was live. Black Pegasus and Don. So I'll go around and jump in and out. Ken and Hotep. I was in there earlier today, and I didn't announce myself or anything, or go in the chat. What's good? Yeah, that meme is memesters, man. I love the memesters, man. They give you a good laugh after all this stuff. But yeah, thanks for stopping by. We got good. Oh, we got Greg Wilson for the show in there. What's up? Quest Fannin, what's good? I'm gonna go for a little bit longer here. I just got a couple other stuff. I know you probably saw this. A lot of people are tired of seeing Dylan Mulvaney. I'm not. I'm a Dylan Mulvaney fan. Meet Nike's new women's ambassador, a biological man, goofiest nigga on the planet, Dylan Mulvaney. I'm a new fan. I am a big supporter of Dylan Mulvaney. Let's go. Yeah. If you're just listening, Dylan Mulvaney for some reason is wearing a sports bra. Number one, what is a sports bra is supposed to support something, and we have a bulimic looking man in a sports bra paid by Nike. Nike gave that check for this, wearing some black leggings. Oh, what a disaster. I don't know what's going on, but Dylan is looking more like a man every time I see him. He's probably going to have to go get some more surgery because the package is not impressive. And I don't mean that, yeah, pause. I'm talking about the look is not good. You could do a better look than this. What Jeffree Star is just a straight up dude that cross dresses that got a better look than this. But I'm just wearing the leggings out in the backyard or whatever, wanted to make it seem authentic. Dylan Mulvaney is so awesome. I really support. I think Dylan should win Best Actor, Academy Award, Tonys, because Dylan sings too. Look at this performance, man. Dylan is a one-man skit, one-man Saturday Night Live skit. It's like taking the same skit and doing it over and over and getting paid for it. Grifties is the smallest admiration. Obviously, that's a done deal. The Grifties, done. This is the winner right here. But when you look at it in a bigger picture, this is one of the greatest acting performances we've ever seen. The end of this video is my favorite part, where this goofy ass nigga is walking backwards, and I don't know if it's a joke or not, but didn't know if he was by the fence and then put his hand out. Just one of the goofiest people you've ever seen. Look at this goofball. It's a skinny dude with long hair. I don't know. Is it taking any hormones? Have you made any sacrifice for this transition? Nope. Not that I'm aware of. Maybe got a little bit of the surgery. Even as scrawny as Dylan is, doesn't look like a woman in any way, shape, or form. Look at this goofiness. This is my favorite part, when he puts his hand out because he doesn't know if he's against the fence because he's doing a goofy backwards run. This is so funny, man. I don't know how you can't like Dylan Mulvaney, man. It's not Dylan's fault. What do you want Dylan to do? Dylan out here getting paid. Don't boycott, support Bud Light. This dude is hilarious. I haven't had many good laughs outside of Dylan, like the best laughs over the last couple weeks. Man, it feels like yesterday we saw that first Dylan Mulvaney video in the woods with the high heel boots or whatever he was wearing. And I saw the video and we just thought it was weird, and I covered that one on Rumble because I didn't know what you could say, what you can't, still don't. But now we're here. Endorsements out of Nike and clothing and Bud Light. Man, what a rise. So perfect for our society. Dylan really should get, I was going to say president, but maybe even a role in some administrative, should get a trans role in the next Democrat administration. Because You know, maybe you could just swap out Mayor Pete for Dylan Mulvaney. Probably wouldn't be much different. Even though Mayor Pete's very smart, when you're in the woke ideology, your intelligence only takes you so far. Where are you going to go with your intelligence? I'm a big Dylan Mulvaney fan, man. This article, I'm going to leave on this article. This is a white pill moment. The best article on like all this weird stuff is happening. How do you figuratively fight back? This is the best article I've seen on it. Props to, this is Daniel Horowitz, Blaze. Great article. Let me fast forward down to the top 7 things. The best article I have seen. I've seen a lot of articles because as much as I like Comic Dave Smith, Libertarians, Mises Caucus, and he was great again on Timcast. When Comic Dave Smith goes on with Tim and Joe Rogan, and he's always great, but I don't know what it is. He's just like NBA Jam. He's on fire the whole show. That is not easy, man. Comic Dave Smith, props to you. But I mean, Tim didn't bring it up in that way, and he will answer the question. But I need to see what's the action steps from the libertarian standpoint. Nathaniel Erskine said, "If you love what you do for a living, you'll never work a day in your life." And that, I wonder how much Dylan Mulvaney loves what Dylan Mulvaney's doing. We will see. I don't know. I don't have a full grasp because I'm going either way. Like, I think Dylan loves it. I think Dylan loves the attention because after the camera goes off, I wouldn't be surprised if Dylan's like, I'm tired of this shit. But I don't know. But that's your comment, Nathaniel. Thanks. I agree completely. Horowitz, let's look at the top 7 here and I'll be out. I am going to start. Thanks for everybody while I'm going to the top 7 here. Thanks to everybody for signing up as a member for the channel, $1 a month. And I am going to start making the live videos. They're going to be available on podcast. I'm going to do the same thing Eric July used to do when he did his show every day. And he did one today. He might even still be on right now. I was watching him before I went live. But so I'm going to do the $1 tiers just like hand your boy $12 a year. And then, I'll do uploads and stuff when I can. Then I'll try to do a little bit more tier to put all of the lives, because most of them are copyright because of songs or whatever and all this stuff. So they're not making any money other than maybe a super chat or whatever. But it'll make those members, and then it'll give me some motivation to do some more editing to clip up stuff. But let's take a look and see. So I'll do that probably at some point after the live goes up. Let's take a look at this top 7. These were really good. Excellent work here. I've been waiting for somebody to say, what do you do? Number 1, fund legal defense of persecuted individuals. Yes. The first step is defense. Obviously, Trump has a war chest, but most of his supporters being persecuted or pro-life activists being charged for praying outside abortion clinics don't have money. So they didn't even, the first one, not even about Trump. It's about J6ers. Fighting the lawsuits are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, finding and funding common citizens who are being persecuted. Number 1. Love that number 1. Even more important than national divorce or anything like that. Refuse to extradite. Number 2. Governor DeSantis just set a precedent that Florida will not exist. I don't know what that means. I think people think that means more than what it really means, but it's something. David Horowitz says, in the case of Trump, because he's protected by Secret Service, there was never a chance that the NYPD would somehow be able to nab him in Florida. But for ordinary citizens, it's important for red states to make the statement that they will serve as constitutional sanctuaries for equality under the law. This will be harder to pull off in the face of a federal prosecution. I talked about it again. You're one step away from having to tell the feds to get up out of there. but the time has clearly come to tell the blue states to shove it. Every red state legislator should empower its state AG to block extradition if he determines it is for political reasons. Yes, he's the only person I've seen say it. I didn't even hear Comic Dave Smith say this kind of stuff. Slash the ABA monopoly. We're talking about how do they do all this? Through the American Bar Association. Alvin Bragg has no chance of being disbarred. But if lawyers did it on the other side to Hillary, Obama, who I believe is in Kenya, I thought that was an April Fool's joke. But they would get disbarred. They've already gone after people who supported Trump or even just represented Trump. Parallel economy. Get another organization outside the American Bar Association. That's the judicial branch. Got to get some control. Number 4, refuse cooperation with rogue federal agencies. Red states need to pull out of all joint training, sharing of information, and help with logistics or intel to any federal law enforcement agency that continues to target people for their political beliefs. Yes. Great stuff here. Number 5, prosecute the left more zealously. You know what that means. Time to fight fire with fire. Just this week, this is a change for me. I will say this is a change. I don't want to see, I got to think this one through, because I've never wanted to do, something that's outside the law like they do. But what I'm saying now is my only law is God, my morals as defined through my faith, not the Constitution, nothing on the books. So yes, it's time to fight fire with fire. We'll have to see what that looks like, but I am open to that discussion. We're not asking red state prosecutors to take minor misdemeanors and hold people pre-trial for 2 years as the left done with J6. I'm open to it. I'm going even a little bit more than David here. He said he's not asking red state prosecutors to take minor misdemeanors and hold people pre-trial for 2 years as the left has done with J6 defendants. Let me stop there. Why not? Let's talk. Somebody help me out. Why wouldn't we do that? Why wouldn't I'm going to say we? New member. Thank you, Nathaniel. Appreciate you. Just $1 a month. I'm probably going to do the videos as a higher tier, but we'll see. But thank you. Why would we do this? I'm just going to use the term we loosely. Why would you not do? So we saw at the Tennessee State House. Tennessee, they're going down to Tennessee, these little kids going down to Tennessee to protest whatever they're going to protest. Why not set up a barricade? That's what happened with J6. They set up those little bike racks, put up the bike racks. If they don't cross the bike racks, great. If they cross the bike racks, what happens next? Tear gas. Follow the same why not? Why not? Misdemeanor, hem up, 2 years pre-trial. Why not? That's the legal precedence that's being set. I mean, it's federal. We're talking about the Capitol. Why wouldn't you do the same thing? Hold them to the standard. I would rather just break away. I don't want to do this tit for tat that I don't truly believe in. But if we're not going to break away, why not? Let me know. We're in like philosophical dilemma time. However, they should more aggressively use catch-all felony statutes to throw the book at people who legitimately act violent or democratic politicians and outside groups that legitimately violate laws. They're setting, if they're able to do what they did with J6ers, then that's a legal precedent, right? And that's what the law system of laws, it doesn't work if we don't have the same precedent. I didn't want to set that. They did. Even though they don't control the federal government, Republicans control half the states and can easily make these changes today. Yes, that's why the primary focus should be interposing on behalf of the people's liberties at the state level. Bring it back to the states. However, given the federal tyranny, there is a need to at least push for legal reforms against political targeting with legislation in the House. Pass the Political Targeting Prosecution Act. Defendants can theoretically assert I love this one. Listen to this one. Equal Protection Clause violation. However, practically, the courts have made it almost impossible to succeed with a claim. So what you're going to say with this is Congress should pass the Political Targeting Prosecution Act, which would accord defendants the opportunity to present evidence of political targeting based on animus for the individual's religious or political beliefs. For example, if defendants could show how BLM rioter, who was much more violent or equally, in my opinion, was charged with obstructing law enforcement during the public disturbance, it would trigger a motion to dismiss based on unequal treatment. That's a check of balance that needs to be done to check these DAs. Fair jury pools with a country more divided than during the Civil War. I agree with that. It's self-evident that conservatives cannot get a fair trial in liberal jurisdictions. This has rendered the Sixth Amendment's guarantee to a trial by a jury of one's peers irrelevant. So if you go to DC to protest, you get hemmed up by a DC. That's not a jury of your peers, really. Congress must demand that a conservative defendant charged in DC can move the trial to federal jurisdiction. I don't know how that would work, but in theory, I love the idea there to make sure that it's more fair when you're doing that. So if you want to say nobody's talked about action, he laid it out way better than I could have. Great article talking about what can we do now instead of complaining, or go to your state level, take that list. I should put that, I'll put that link, that list in the description or the comments. Great piece, great article from the Blaze. Thanks everybody for stopping by. I'm going to do a little bit of, again, I'm going to try to work out before picking up my kid. Actually, it's going to be kind of late. Ooh, I hate missing a workout day, but you know what? I'm going to do something. Something is better than nothing. So I'm going to be out. I'm going to go ahead and do that. But thank you. I'm outie. Let's leave you out with some Ninth Wonder.